Hi everyone, and welcome back to my Smoke and Mirrors series where I look at shared ownership in the UK. We are doing a little deep dive into service charges and the various sections of the Landlord and Tenant Act 1985 that affects the service charges. And today I need to share a terrifying truth with you about Section 19. And that is, as long as your service charges are deemed reasonable, there's absolutely no legal cap or limit to what your landlord can charge you. Now, when normal people hear the word reasonable, we think of fair prices, common sense, and just not getting ripped off, right? But in a housing law, reasonable is a completely different beast. And I want to give you a couple of examples, and one of them is completely made up and one of them is very close to the truth actually. So imagine that you take your 15-year-old car to a local mechanic for a box standard change of oil, right? And you expect to pay maybe £80–200. But when you go and pick up the car, the mechanic hands you a bill for £10,000. And you go, what is this for? Well, the mechanic goes, I flew a team of specialist Ford Fiesta engineers over from Italy on a private jet. We then rented out a Formula One pit garage for the afternoon, and we used a solid gold wrench or two to turn all the bolts. Here are the receipts. The work was carried out to a high standard and the costs were genuinely incurred as per the receipts, so pay up. So this is the one that was really made up, but I really enjoyed it. Here is one that's actually very close to what most housing association or landlords actually do. Imagine a light bulb blows up in your community hallway. Standard £2, maybe £3 LED light bulb, right? So you log a repair with the team and you figure out they'll send one person to take the old one out and pop the new one in. And 1 year later, lo and behold, you get a service charge bill and the charge is £3,000. So under Section 22, which we have covered in the last video, you audit the landlord and ask for the backup information saying, hey, I asked for a change of light bulb. Why does this cost £3,000? And your housing association sends you the backup of all the charges related to the change of the light bulb. And they literally go, ready? So we had to hire a specialist illumination consultant. And before you challenge the day rate, it includes compliance with health and safety regulation, specialist equipment, employer and public liability insurance, staff training, uniforms, and site-specific risk assessment, plus provision for cover during staff absence to ensure continuity of the service. All of these factors contribute to the overall cost of the daily rate and cannot be directly compared with domestic services. Okay. And of course, the light bulb changer or specialist illumination consultant had to conduct a 4-hour health and safety risk assessment regarding the use of the ladder. Then they needed to hire a supervisor to oversee the installation. And then they had to dispose of the light bulb in an environmentally friendly and safe way. And as he was doing the work, something else broke on the internal circuit board and they had to call another person to fix it. Here's the invoices. The work was done, the hallway is illuminated, and the costs are genuinely incurred. And by the way, guys, this is why I was like, I didn't make this up. The daily rate that I mentioned was actually a word for word, literal email from the head of leasehold when I questioned a daily rate of our cleaners. Different service, similar principle. You can't compare domestic and commercial because of all of these charges that are included in the daily rate. And that's why instead of £20 an hour, we charge you £600 an hour, right? But that is what Section 19 in reality means. If the landlord can prove that they actually spend the money and they have the paperwork to back it up, the law says that this is reasonable charge, and therefore the sky is the limit. And here is the absolute kicker for shared owners. You might only own 25%, like myself, of the flat that you part rent, part buy. But under the terms of your lease, you are on the hook for pure 100% of all the maintenance costs and service charges. So you pay the full price for the specialist illumination consultant or whatever they're calling their contractors, no matter what percentage of the shares of the flat you own. It's ridiculous. Now, you do have an option to challenge the charges that your landlord charges you, obviously, and that's going through a first-tier property tribunal. And you might think that if you present a Ferrari pit stop crew and such nonsense, that common sense will win. Unfortunately, the courts do not care about the cheapest price. And there have been landmark legal cases that prove that landlords don't have to choose the best value option, as long as they can prove that the costs have happened, that they followed a basic process, and they have a physical evidence to show the money left their bank account. The courts will side with landlords and stamp it as reasonableness approved, and you have to pay. So Section 19 isn't a shield to protect your own wallet. It's a legal green light for the housing associations, for your landlords, to be as inefficient, disorganized, and expensive as they want, and pass every single penny of that waste directly onto you, the tenants. Now, as crazy as those car and light bulb stories sound, I know for a fact that many of you watching this are living through some version or variation of this right now. So I want to know, what is the most absurd, eye-watering service charge bill your landlord has ever tried to pass off as reasonable? Please drop your horror stories in the comments. Let's discuss. I really want to know. So drop the horror stories in the comments. The more we share these, the more we expose the smoke and mirrors this housing game really is. It's just beyond a joke, in my opinion. And that is very important. This is my opinion, and everything I state in here is either my opinion or I can prove it and back it up with receipts. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this dive into Section 19 or parts of the Section 19. Please like, share, and comment. And in my next video, I will be looking specifically at Section 20B, which is the 18-month rule binding landlords into charging you the service charges within a specific time frames. Yes. So watch out for that. Anyway, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye.